makes him exclaim, "Turn left." Bill. Okay.
The cops wanted us to turn left. We didn't want to.
Left is towards the camp, straight is for our action. Left is towards the camp, straight is for our action.
80 protesters, 200 police. We faced off and stood there for 20 minutes, nose to nose with riot cops. After the International Convention was over, I went down to Tampa, Florida to protest the RNC. We went down to let Mitt Romney know that we did not agree with their policies. We did not think that it was fair that the rich should pay such low taxes, as is their policy. We did not think it was fair that corporations should be counted as people in politics, as is their policy. We did not think there was such a thing as legitimate rape, as Scott Akins put it. So we went down and we marched and we rallied and we talked and we protested. I went with the unions and I talked to the postal workers who were trying to prevent the post office from being privatized. I talked to a security guard on the street. He explained to me how 10 years ago when he got into the business, he was making $14 an hour, and now he's making $8. I talked to a couple of delegates, and they explained to me how glorious capitalism was and how wonderful it was that people were be able to get rich in this country, and they cast their aspersions on those lazy 47% who didn't even make enough money to pay taxes. I asked them if they were upset about the bank bailouts, and they said they didn't want to talk about details. Is this what we want our country to be? A place where bankers don't go to jail for fraud, they don't go to jail for stealing our money, writing illegal foreclosure papers, and yet when we get up to protest them, the cops arrest us. For what?
So I turned around and I asked him, why is that? Why can only 2 of us go up at once? You know, I've seen 6 people go up there at a time. There's no sign, there's no ordinance. And he said, you need to shut up and keep moving. I think this is a legitimate question. I'd like to know why, and before I even got the word why completely out of my mouth, he rushed at me and slammed my head down on a table and started wrenching my arm up behind my back. And I was asking him, why am I being arrested? Why am I under arrest? And he said, you're under arrest for not shutting your damn mouth.
The Boston Police Patrolmen's Association is the union for the cops in Boston. The editor of their newsletter, the Pax Centurion, wrote a couple of kind of nasty articles about us. I looked at previous copies and realized this guy had written a great number of articles that were out and out racist, sexist, homophobic. So I wrote him a letter. Dear Officer Carnell, I'm very upset about what you wrote about us. You're a union. You're fighting for the same rights that we're fighting for. Why don't I come down to your office and let's talk. Dear Bill, excuse my tardy reply as I was sorting my sock drawer and counting toothpicks. Bill, I noticed you spelled your name with only one L. The correct spelling, for men that is with 2. But let's not jump to conclusions. And on, nitwits, fools, hypocrites, trollops, slime bags. He never actually used a dirty word, but almost. Bill, I noticed you identify yourself as a teacher. No wonder the country is filled with so many young idiots who don't know history, geography, math, or classical literature. James W. Carnell, Pax Centurion editor. P.S. You may use this response in your class to explain the definition of an ad hominem attack. I support this man's right to say anything he wants to in his newsletter. It horrifies me that this is what he thinks of the citizens that he has sworn to protect and serve. Since this was published, 8 sponsors have dropped their support for the newsletter. Every major publication here in Boston has written an article on it, the Globe, the Herald, the Dig, the Phoenix. They have removed the Pax Centurion from their website. They have put up a defense of Officer Carnell, noting, however, that he is not going to be the editor anymore. The cops on beat don't like to talk very much, as you can understand, but as near as I can discern, they are overjoyed that this guy is getting his feet held to the fire. Since I left my position as district governor, I have spent most of my time talking about democracy, fairness, equality, and rights. If I have learned one thing, it is that the system is even more unfair than I ever thought it was. I'd like to show you a little graph. This is a graph of who pays taxes. If you don't make very much money, if you make $20,000 a year, you don't have any wealth. And you're going to pay no income tax, but you will pay SSI, Medicare, sales tax, excise tax, etc. These people pay an average of 20% of their net worth in taxes. If you make about $50,000 a year, you probably have some equity, maybe in a house, maybe some stocks. You will be paying about 5% of your total wealth in taxes. If you make $1 million, you're probably paying about 1%. Mitt Romney pays approximately 1% in taxes. And if you are Warren Buffett reported paying less than 1/10 of 1% of his wealth in taxes. Now, the election is coming up, and I've been listening to Mitt Romney talk about how he wants to cut tax rates. And of course, to pay for those tax rate cuts, he is going to cut services, which means that everything is going to be more expensive for everybody in the 99%. I'm not very happy with Obama. I'm not happy that he bailed out the banks. I'm not happy that he didn't end the wars immediately. I'm not happy that he extended the Bush tax cuts. Just for a moment, imagine if instead of taking $400 billion and giving it to the very wealthy, what if we had taken that $400 billion and created 10 million jobs at $40,000 a year? For me, Romney and Ryan are scary. They're talking about new wars. They're talking about squeezing us for every penny that we're worth. If the world was fair, these people would be in jail. But they're rich. They bribe our politicians, and they send the cops to stop us when we try to protest.
At Occupy Cincinnati, we haven't even got to March yet, and we were occupying a wood. All of a sudden, the cops came and raided. Without any answers, they tossed in tear gas bombs, leaving 6-year-olds to choke on tear gas.
Is that what we want our police force doing? If you don't think so, then do something about it. Talk about it. Talk to your friends. What do you want your country to be? Ask all of the questions. Remember that march we started with? That conflict where we were facing the cops? If this were New York City, they would have arrested every one of us and beat our little faces into the pavement, leaving it soaked with our blood. But not all police forces are the same.
My team, get north, move! Move! Moving!
Yeah, right, keep
Everybody to the north. Moving to go to the north.